And we are live 2 minutes early because it's my YouTube channel. I can do what I want. We're here with Steve. Say hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
And Ken will be with us later. Right now, he's doing something unrelated to stuff. So, yay. So, hello, everybody, and welcome aboard another scintillating Maxis Models YouTube live stream. We're live. It's alive. And today I thought we would start off talking about the Indy 500 models and stuff like that, since it's the weekend of the Indy 500. And before we get started, Steve discovered something recently, and that was Steve. You want to tell him about who makes a model of the Wienermobile?
Nobody.
Nobody. Apparently, we could not find any kits of the Wienermobile, and they had, what was it? What they called, the Wiener race?
Yeah, they had the Wiener 500
The Wiener
on Friday,
the Wiener
which was actually quite humorous to
I,
watch.
I laugh just thinking about it.
They had 6 Wienermobiles, one from, they have 6. They break the country into 6 zones, and each one has its own Wienermobile, and they travel around to the states within their zone. And so they had all 6 of them show up, and they raced. They did 2 laps around the Indy track. And Slaw Dog from the southeast won.
Can you imagine you're sitting there having a cocktail in a bar, and girl sits down next to you and goes, so what do you do for a living? Well, honey, I'm a wiener bus driver. I'm a Wienermobile driver.
Don't laugh.
What you here for? I'm here for the Wienermobile race.
My niece, okay, the guy she married when she first met him, and she asked him, "What do you do?" He told her, "I'm the Goodyear blimp pilot."
Well, that I can understand. That's a blimp.
And I said to her, "And you bought this?"
Hey, somebody's got to do it, you know. And years ago, I mean, gosh, probably in the 1990s, or late, yeah, or very early, late 80s, early 90s. I think it was late 80s, like 89. Well, I think it was Flying Magazine read an article called "Love Affair with a Fat Lady," and it was about one of the blimp pilots for Goodyear. And he was talking about, you know, what it takes to become a blimp pilot. And your credentials weren't really all that high, commercial instrument with a couple of thousand hours, because it's not like anybody out there these days has time. They basically have to train you. And I figured, what the heck, I'd shoot them off a resume. I was looking for a job, and it started like 30 grand a year. Wasn't a super high paying job. I never heard back from them. Apparently they get about 200 apps, resumes a month. And but you know, hey, good, John's here, and we have John Kitt from Scale Car Garage, and I was hoping he would be able to join us because, you know, he, like you, Steve, he's a huge race car guy. He'd keep us honest.
Yep.
And I figured F1 and Indycar kind of right up his wheelhouse. And so before we get going tonight on the kit models, I think it's important because not everybody's into cars. And I'll let you do it. And John, please feel free. I know it'll take you have to burn up the keyboard, but give a quick rundown on what an F1 car is, or an Indy car is, because even though they look like F1 cars, they're open wheel, they're different than Formula One.
Was that me or?
That's for you. John's got to type it, so it'll take him a while. Anything he wants to add. So.
Well, you know, a Formula One car has a bit more horsepower. Indy cars are designed. There's 2 types of Indy cars. There's the type for the ovals, which the suspension is designed to turn left.
Mm-hmm.
So one side of the suspension, which is what would be the inside of the track, is shorter than the outside, which most people don't know that but when you look at the car, you can see it. And then they have what they call the road race car, which is equal on both sides because it has to turn right and left. Formula One cars, although the gap is closing, we're much more technically advanced. Higher horsepower engines, different types of aero. Indy cars, the aero is designed to keep the car as flat to the track as you can at those high speeds going around the turns. But, Formula One car, they're going right, they're going left, it's shorter circuits. They're a little more technologically advanced than Indy cars. But they're close.
And John brings up a point. Current Indy cars are all made by Dallara, which is right there in Raceway City, or whatever they call that place. The Indianapolis 500 is not actually done in Indianapolis. It's on I guess you call it a suburb. I think was Speedway is the name of it?
It's in Speedway. Now, as John
and that's the name of the township is Speedway. That's its real name.
Yeah. As John pointed out, all the IndyCar chassis are Dallara.
Okay.
In Formula One, each manufacturer can make their own chassis dependent on the rules.
It just has to meet the formula, thus Formula One.
Right. And they go for constructors points. There's also a constructors championship. Now they're also, in IndyCar, the top speeds, because of the aero packages down the straights, because the straights are longer, are usually higher.
Yeah, I've heard an IndyCar can hit about that. There have been ones that on the straights that hit 240, whereas with a Formula One about 220. But like you say, they have smaller tracks and less straightaway.
They were doing 244 down the back straight on Friday.
Yeah, God. Well, I to get ready for this live stream, I actually did a little homework. And I found out that Indy and Formula One, now we're going back to the 20s and 30s, for a while they were the same. They split later. So
yeah, you used to have a lot of foreign manufacturers, Maserati and Aston Martin and Bentley. They would race at the Indy 500. And now a lot of the Indy 500 cars in the 40s, 30s, 40s, and even into the early 50s, they were sometimes midget cars.
Yes.
Or midget cars that might be a little bit extended, but they were midget cars.
Well,
and it wasn't until the 50s that they started to make cars that were lower, more streamlined, longer wheelbase. And then when you got into the late 60s, aero started to really play a role. And so into the 70s, the cars became much more aerodynamic, wings and different nose shapes and things to keep the car to the ground.
Well, of course, the speeds going up had a lot to do with that. Since you brought that up, I know all the race car guys already know this, but the Marmon Wasp, their first actual Indy 500 was 1911, and it was won by a guy named Ray Haroon in a car called the Marmon Wasp. I went and looked for a model of the Marmon Wasp, and there are two specialty companies that make it. MA Scale Models, who makes a lot of these race cars, probably most of them, and Indy Cats. And these kits are specialty items. I have no idea if they're still in production or how hard they are to get their hands on. And I would imagine that they're probably not that easy to find, being a specialty. Or Johnson, 60 years ago, it was made that will never be Jim Clark, who won 65 race by almost 2 laps. Any the one that actually they which one was it that they hit with? I think it was an English driver. They hit him with a 2-lap penalty, and he still came back and won. And that may have been in the 80s, but anyway.
Well, see, when Jim Clark won, the guy in '63, it was what was the rear engine revolution,
right?
Because
he was talking about that.
Were front engine roadsters, and they were these really big behemoth type things. So Dan Gurney, who had raced in Formula One, and he knew Colin Chapman from Lotus, and he saw the success that he had in Formula One with the Lotus, with Jim Clark, who won the world championship, and he went to him and said, I can partner you with Ford. You can put a Cosworth engine in it, and you can come to the Indy 500, and you could probably win. So they had a 2-car team. It was Jim Clark, and it was Gurney.
Mm-hmm.
The first year they raced, the cars were the class of the field. The problem was they used Dunlop tires.
Yeah, I remember there were some issues with that.
And the Dunlop tires were not up to the task, so they weren't able to, complete the dominance that they did. So by 65, they had that all sorted out, and Clark just ran away with the race.
Well, these...
And then at that point, everybody switched to rear-engine cars.
Yeah, and that one of the points they brought up, and I noticed that I found this racing model which says hollow shell, so I assume it's some kind of vac or early styrene or some sort of plastic kit, not wood if it's a hollow body. And but racing cars go back as far as model airplanes do. I mean, auto racing was clearly, it had every bit the fanatical following that maybe even more so than aviation. And I think they were talking about one of the things was, let's see, the Brickyard. I know it was originally brick and then they asphalted over it, but apparently it was that the front engine cars were better on the dirt, but the rear engine cars were better on, could do okay on the asphalt, because the dirt, they would still skid through the turns and everything. Mm-hmm. And apparently this is one of the things that led to the breakup, the love affair between F1 and Indy. But the IndyCar kits, though, because my understanding is the Indianapolis 500 is still the single most attended race in America, if I'm not mistaken.
In the world.
In the world. And I thought when I went to Scalemates and started looking for model cars, I was going to find hundreds of them, and I didn't. I was surprised and really kind of how poorly represented they were.
It is actually the largest single day attended sporting event period in the world, because they can cram 500,000 people inside the track.
Yeah, and but I found the old ITC kit, open-wheeled IndyCar front engine, but when I started going through I didn't, except for one I put up here just to complete the little collage I have up here. Most car manufacturers, if they had a Camaro or a Corvette, they would put out an Indy Pace car version because that was just a set of decals, and they could they could rebox the kit. But as far as actual, and there were a couple of them that seemed to be favorites, like the Eagles and the Lolas. But I was just surprised how few Indy cars were represented, given how big that sport is. And speaking from a kit model business, did they just not sell well as kits, or... Here comes Ken.
The problem is, unlike a Camaro or a Corvette or
hang on a second. Ken's dialing in.
Sure.
Merge with Steve. And merge. Oops. Ken?
¿Cómo está?
Hey, okay. You're with us. All right, Steve. We're talking about IndyCar models. Steve, back we were talking about why they don't make more kits of Indy cars, given that Indy 500 is like the biggest race ever.
It's a big sport, but it's like model kit building. It's a big sport in a small pond.
Uh-huh.
As opposed to, they put out a model of a Camaro or a Corvette. Well, everybody sees them every day. They see them on the street. Oh, I want to build it. I remember when I was at AMP, we came out with IndyCar kits for quite a few years, and so did Monogram, and they did really well. But that's when Indy, was
at the top
really
of its game. Yeah. Well, John brings up an interesting point that you and I talked about before. He's comparing McQueen and Garner. It's Steve McQueen, the actor, and the actor James Garner. When they did Grand Prix, I know that's not the IndyCar, but when they did Grand Prix, they said Garner was good enough to have actually driven professionally. But you said McQueen was also a good driver.
Yeah, McQueen was a very good driver. He finished second at Sebring in a Porsche to Mario Andretti, and he did it with a broken leg.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like setting the, breaking the speed barrier, the sound barrier with a broken arm.
Broken rib.
Oh, rib.
Crack.
That's right.
Fast Sports brings up the 1/20th scale Lotus 38. I may actually have, because when I went to IMC, no, that's ITC. I've got IMC. Here we go. IMC made a Lotus, and I've got it up here. And John's talking about the 125th scale Lotus 38, which, by the way, Testers got and started producing. Now, I know your love affair with IMC models.
Yep. As a matter of fact, I recently built that kit.
So tell us about building, because I know how finicky they tend to be.
The worst part of the car was doing the exhaust pipes and the rear suspension. But other than that, the kit just fell together, and it was very, very well detailed.
Yeah, I understand that IMC always made super, to the point of almost being annoying, super detailed kits.
Yeah, they're very detailed kits, and
what was the problem with the exhaust and the suspension?
To their credit, but that's what makes them difficult to build.
Okay, well, when I built that Tamiya Caterham, that was they had every piece of suspension in there, and they basically worked. And until I broke a plastic piece, everything fit like a glove. But my God, it was. And even though Tamiya has traditionally good instructions, it was a little tricky to figure out exactly where to place stuff, because I'm not a car guy. A car guy would have known. Once I broke a few things, I realized, oh, that's how it went, and it all went together. I tried to glue the parts back together. I mean, it's still on the shelf and everything, and it's a great kit. But it's not one that you use glue on. It's one of those screw and fit, and Tamiya has a few of those kits. So I understand how complex a Lotus suspension can get, but and I assume, and that's an even smaller scale, so I assume you have more trouble with it. Well, what was the problem with the exhaust?
Oh, it's just they call it the basket of snakes. Because you have all of these pipes that come off the sides of the engine block that have to go together in one collector to that rear dual exhaust pipe in the back, which is just about impossible to get it to line up right.
Okay.
Now, if you look at the picture of the Lotus from the tester reissue, which has like the front view, look at the front suspension.
Yeah.
See, the right front wheel is closer to the body than the left front wheel.
Oh, so it is.
So I'm not imagining. So I'm not imagining that. Okay.
No, that's the offset for Indy.
Because it's a left-turning car. Okay. All right. The port wheel is closer in the starboard. That's interesting. God, as a pilot, where everything's got to be balanced, that just kind of makes me it just makes me start wincing. I'm like, no, that's not the way cars and machines are supposed to be made.
Yeah, you got it backwards.
But all they're doing is they're turning left.
Yeah.
The starboard side is further out.
Isn't that what I said?
Why it's that.
I said the port side's closer, the starboard's further out. Isn't that what I said?
Yes.
Well, that's what I meant.
Yeah, no, you had it back. I know that's what you meant, but you had it backwards.
Give me what I want, not what I asked for. So
you had to be corrected.
Yeah. So, well, here's a question for you. I found that MA scale models, and I couldn't find out much about the company at the time we had. I got this obviously off of ScaleMates. But they made this 22 Duesenberg, Jimmy Murphy's car, which I guess is the winner of the 1922 Indy 500. And I'm thinking, because I know that the Marm Wasp went like 72 miles an hour average speed, which I know was blistering back then. But how fast do you think one of these doozies would go around? Because these were dirt tracks back then. Because even back then, doozies were pretty known for going quick.
They probably, what is this? Is what year?
22.
In 22, they probably just about went in the high 90s or mid to high 90s.
That's still moving. Because I did watch a documentary about it. That Marmon Wasp, they said that even though he only averaged 72, that was average. So, he was actually going faster. And I love how you put the tail fin on it. But one of the things that Haroon did that made the difference was he went without a mechanic. He was the only one driving solo, which lightened the car and everything and gave him a speed advantage. And the car was tough enough to get through the race. But I have no idea how detailed this kit is, if it has an engine or not. Well, there's actually two separate kits here, I'm like, this is one of the great things about building models. When you get onto a subject and you start studying, you just learn stuff. You just become normal, a little more knowledgeable about the world around you in history. But the doozies, the Dues, you know, I've always had a fascination with Duesenbergs because I think of like the Hollywood cars that, you see Clark Gable driving one, like, you need a Duesenberg, a Stetson and a pencil thin mustache. God, that sounds like a Jimmy Buffett song.
Well, you have to remember that when you bought a Duesenberg back in the 30s and even into the 40s and the 20s, you bought the frame and the engine and the running gear, and then you had a custom body person do the body.
So no two of them were the same.
You really didn't buy the whole car produced by Duesenberg. You had a coach builder make the body, which is why so many of them look different.
Well, that explains that. Now, when we got to the major kit model companies, though, AMT probably had one of the better lineups of Indy 500 cars, including, I think, the turbine car and some stuff. And they even made a few more when AMT Ertl took over.
That's because we partnered with Roger Penske.
Ah, okay.
And we had all the Penske cars.
Okay.
And then when Monogram got into it, Monogram did Al Unser Jr.'s car. They did the Porsche Indycar. They did a couple of the other, Chip Ganassi cars that they had. But we had Penske, and we had, the history of at that time of coming out with 3-4 cars a race. So
yeah,
we made those cars, and they did very well. They really did.
Okay. Well, I just happened to have the Monogram card up right behind this one, which made that easy. But Monogram also did a few of the old vintage cars. And of course they tried to rebox them as their racing classics and stuff. But I guess Monogram, MPC, AMT, they've all got to pay rights for this or a royalty, I assume.
Oh yeah. You need to you need a license.
So before I get to the next question, there were only 3 that I could find from MPC, which is kind of surprising. They got the Olsenite Eagle, the Lotus Indy turbine car, and the Rizlone Special.
Right.
But
the holy grail kit of Indy cars is that MPC turbine car.
Really?
That is the holy grail of IndyCar kits.
For quality or for just rarity?
Both.
Oh, okay. Because I prefer AMT to MPC. So
not the little one that you're showing on the screen.
Oh, the big one.
The big one.
I actually saw one at Jack's Con. I think you wanted.
Which is the first Lotus. The first turbine car. That ran in '67.
Right. I saw one at Jack's Con. I think I sent you a picture of it, and the guy wanted like $300 for it or something. And he knew what he had.
That's what I paid for mine.
Yeah. So, let's see. John was saying that the Lotus 38 was only available as a slot car. Oh. Well, that's blows. But, so what did you think of the Monogram kits?
They were good. They were good. As a matter of fact, I was working on one this week. They were very good.
And
they were. I like them better than their street cars.
Okay, how do they stack up to the AMT Indy cars?
They're close. They're close. But AMTs were a little bit better.
Okay, and the MPCs?
You see from the slide, you have AMT had a lot of them.
Okay. And what do you think of the MPC kits, aside from the turbine car for rarity?
They were okay. They were okay. They were, I would rate them as a close third, but I would put them in the top 1 or 2.
So I know that slot cars are, these kind of cars, a lot of them get turned into slot cars because, they kind of beg for it. And John was saying that the Monogram 38 was only available as a slot car, Lotus 38. So some of these, I guess, are slot cars, not or can be converted to slot.
No, every one that you see here is an individual one.
Oh, okay.
Because those were just specific bits to be built.
And I wonder how aerodynamics scale if a slot car of a modern Indy car, has the same aerodynamics if the spoilers actually work and hold it on the track. Because I know the worst slot car I ever had was like a '63 Corvette. It was a little 1 to 143 Aurora jobs, and that thing would lift off just going around the track. I mean, I shot that thing off the end of the track so many times. But I am blaming aerodynamics. Now, that brings us to your favorite company and your favorite guys in kit model building.
Oh, yes.
Salvinos.
I know where we're going here.
Before we get into this, if you want to vent, just do it now and to get it out of the way, and then we'll move on.
No, I'm going to just bounce right by it, but I will say this. I've seen the kits.
Mm-hmm.
They're extremely well detailed.
Okay.
They're a bit pricey.
$150 is a bit pricey.
No. That's just they're coming out with these super detailed large scale kits that are not out yet. They're going to be in that range. I'm talking about the ones that they have out now. They go between $79 to $99 for the 1/20th scale kits. They're very well detailed. The decal sheets. The decal sheets are like 3 pages.
Wow.
And they're really, really, really well detailed. They're really good kits. It just comes down to, do you want to pay, $79 to $99 for this kit? That's all.
So they're kind of the wingnut wings of Formula One.
No, these are Indy cars.
I'm sorry, IndyCar. Well, I should say Salvinos is like the wingnut wings of racing cars. Because I think that's all they do, isn't it, is race cars?
That's all well, see, they sort of, they have an edge, which was most of the cars they do are NASCAR kits.
Uh-huh, right.
The NASCAR kits that they have, those are all the old monogram molds.
Right, that's what I thought.
So what they do is they just make a different decal sheet and a different box.
Well, yeah.
And, everybody ran a Monte Carlo or a Torino or,
so you get 30 kits out of one body. Yeah.
They get a lot of kits out of the mold. And they just change the decals, and that's it. Now, the thing that made it easier is, as NASCAR sort of evolved, now there's one or two cars. It's a Mustang and a Toyota and a Camaro, and that's it. So you only need 3 molds. And then you have, 20 kits out of each one.
But these Indy cars, then I guess they actually went and had their own molds cut?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they did.
All right. So that's...
And the thing that John was talking about, they're coming out with a large scale. It's either 1/12 or 1/8 scale.
Uh-huh.
Like Formula One cars. And they're supposed to be north of $150 when they come out with them.
Okay.
And they're going to be mixed media. They're going to have, they're going to be styrene, but they're also going to have
photo etch and metal and
photo
resin.
Etch parts. Yeah.
And okay, well, I talked to Salvino one time. I was going to try and do the history of their company, but we lost contact, and so at some point maybe I'll try and get that back in. But I know you had a. You know what? I'm not even going to go there. We're not even going to go there.
Not a lot of love between me and him. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, this ain't business. It's personal.
But let me put it to you this way: when we go to the Nationals, if he's there, it could get ugly.
I'll be there to take the video and post your bail.
Thank you.
I'm only kidding.
Lots of money.
I'm only kidding. I'm not going to post your bail.
We will laugh though.
Well,
yeah. We might go to the jail and laugh real hard. But so anyway, ITC and also maybe Ringo, but also the Precision Miniatures. They made that one small scale IndyCar. I felt I had to throw that in there. But what surprised me was I didn't know that Renwall made one IndyCar, Foyt's 65 Indy Racer, and
Yep.
They sold it complete with a little display case, which should be coming up on your screen shortly. I didn't even know, Renwall had ever even made one, but I was kind of wondering, okay, Renwall usually made pretty good models. They picked this one car one time. Did it not sell? They got scared away from doing more Indy cars, or did it, I'm a little curious. Can't really find out much about this kit. Renwall did a lot of stem stuff, and they did a lot of armor. I don't know how many cars they did, but, okay, anybody know what the story is on this thing? Nope. Okay, well, I remember when I was a kid, the names like AJ Foyt were really big, Andretti and the rest of them. And I'm assuming they had to pay a royalty since they used his name. Nothing?
Nothing.
Steve got nothing.
We got nothing.
got
Okay.
nothing.
Hey, stomp the monkey. Okay. Monkey stomp.
Somebody write that down.
Yeah.
Only thing I can think of with this kid is that kid has appeared in a couple of different forms. It appeared in an MPC 3 IndyCar kit that it might be the same kit because it was the same car, but this one doesn't ring a bell.
So that's why it's at 148 scale, because it was Renwall and they marched to the tune of their own drummer.
Right.
John, you mentioned the was it John mentioned the Haas kit from Tamiya. This is the only Tamiya I could find, and this was the Lola. I don't know if that's the one he's talking about, if that was the Haas kit or not. But when I put Indy 500, into Scalemates and clicked Tamiya, that was it.
The Haas kit was the white one that
I thought
that
they
Mario
did that.
Mario Andretti and Nigel Mansell drove.
Right,
and they made that kit. Tamiya made it.
And that was an Indy car, right?
Excuse me?
That was an Indy car? IndyCar?
Yeah, was. Yes.
So why didn't that pop up? Let me run over here real quick. And it's HAAS, right?
Yes.
Okay, full kits. Tamiya, there it is. Yeah, there it is. I don't know why it didn't show. Copy image. Let me just add that real quick. File, save. Go back here. Ah, there it goes. It'll pop up here momentarily on your screen. If you will turn your attention to the magnetron.
Magnetron?
Oh, those movies where they go, if you'll turn your attention to the Vistameter. So
Magnetron is what they have in microwave ovens.
Thank you, Mr. Science Guy.
Thanks, Sheldon. Thank you, Sheldon.
Good night, Sheldon.
That's what I'm here. That's what I'm here for.
That actually is Ken's job.
Jumbotron. The Jumbotron.
The Jumbotron, that's what I was thinking of. Dadgummit. Hey, I'm thinking on the fly here, people.
Now, the interesting thing about these two kits are that they're snap kits.
Really? Oh, it does say snap. Oh, good God. Oh, look at that. Snap lock. So, I gather typical Tamiya fit and everything?
They were really good kits, even though they were snap lock kits, but they were really good.
It looks like they got two cars out of the same body. They're both Lola T93s. And,
yeah.
So what's the story on the Lola? Like, for one thing, why is it called a Lola? Can't get the song out of my head now. I just gave myself an earworm.
Yeah, that's where I was going. Okay. No, Lola was a manufacturer of Formula One cars, and then they made Indy cars before they went to a spec series, because there were a lot of different manufacturers in IndyCar.
Hey, Fred, we all remember Jackie Stewart. I think he's still
That's our
around.
Formula One.
Okay. Well,
Does it mean they were low to the ground?
No.
they were just Kinks fans. And,
Sarah Jane's building these kits as we speak.
yeah, and Sarah Jane, I hope they're good kits because she puts out some beautiful models.
Yeah. She does. And they are good kits. They really are.
God, okay, what scale are these things?
I think they're 120.
What do you figure, 100, $200?
No. They
Yeah,
weren't.
they're 120th.
Huh?
Yeah, it says 120th in the fine print up at the very top.
Okay, 120.
Yeah, they weren't that expensive.
Oh, okay.
They were, like maybe $50.
Oh, that's not bad.
No.
Oh my God! Did I just say $50 for a plastic model wasn't bad?
Yeah.
Oh my God! I've become part of the collective. I have been assimilated. When I think $50 isn't much for a model, the future has hijacked me. Fran's here. Jackie Stewart may be more members of his role spokes for AFX. That's right. And I think he made more money. It was Jackie Stewart the one that said he made more money off of AFX modeling. Who was that?
It was Jim Hall, who made more money off of the models of the Chaparral that IMC sold.
By the way, Fran, Steve, you should send that thing to Fran. Steve found a bunch of armor. You or Trey. Steve stumbled onto a bunch of armor models at a consignment shop for a good price, so you might want to text him about that, and if you're interested. And I just say Fran because I know Fran does a lot of armor. And oh God, just something completely extraneous popped into my head. And I'm like, stop it, no tangent, just keep going. Steady, lad, steady.
Max, let it out, otherwise it will explode.
Of course, our good friends at Otaki put out the Indy Turbine car, and I was a little surprised that, again, that's the one model that they put out. But I have a suspicion that they put it out not because it was a race car, but because it was an experimental car, I assume a one of a kind. And the guys at Otaki, they did a lot of the standard stuff. What?
Stuart Gregory says, "Did I hear that right? $50 for a snap tight kit?"
Yeah, and you also hear me go, "That ain't much." The 112 F1 cars. So I think Otaki made this just because it was a turbine car, because Otaki made some kind of, for lack of a better way to put it, off the wall stuff. Unusual. And off the wall is not fair, but unusual stuff. So because this is the only Indy car I saw that they made, and they had a pretty broad catalog. How
did the turbine car do?
Steve?
It was leading the race handily, and with something like less than 10 miles to go, it had a bearing failure.
Man. If it had won that race, do you think it would have changed IndyCar?
No.
Why?
Nope. Because it was sort of an anomaly to what was going on. I mean, it was a helicopter engine in there.
Well, the fact that it was just a stock helicopter engine itself says a lot. Will they allow turbine cars today?
No. They're banned.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
They came back with the Lotus, the one that you showed the picture of earlier, which was the Lotus 56, which was the wedge-shaped one.
Yeah.
And those cars did very well also, and they also fell out with mechanical issues later in the race. After dominating the race, after that they outlawed them.
Isn't that like how they outlawed the Hemis in NASCAR because they were winning all the races?
Yeah.
Kind of defeats the purpose of a race, doesn't it? Instead of banning Hemis, everybody ought to be getting them.
The problem is when somebody, some type of car, some type of engine dominates, then you lose interest of the fans. because only the people that are fans of that particular type of car or person or engine are involved, and everybody else says, "Oh, they're going to win." So they try to keep it as honest as they can, even though it's not honest.
Okay.
But that's why they put in all of these stupid rules.
No, I get what you're getting at, and yeah, there's no win on Sunday, sell on Monday if one car is winning everything. And oh, by the way, Barry and Fran, yes, Jackie Stewart did do a thing for Heineken. I remember that commercial, and that's the one where he refuses to drink because he says I'm still driving at the end. So drink responsibly.
Yeah, Heineken one.
Yeah, Heine. And we already talked about the tester's car, which was actually the IMC kit. So that brings us to another company that made one, again, LS. They made one Indycar. And I'm thinking to my, and of course it was made for the Japanese market, as you can tell. When it'll take a second for the box to get up where you can see it. There it is. You should be seeing it about now. But LS made one Indycar for the Japanese market. Although, if you could find that kit today in that box, I would at least keep the. I mean, I might build the kit. I don't know. I probably wouldn't build it because that's got to be kind of rare. I say
what is it, 1/24 scale?
I believe yes, it is.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that would be a rare kit.
But I'm just kind of like, okay, we're gonna make one kit. And I'm assuming by the Japanese script on it that it was made for the Japanese market, which is huge, of course, as we know the Japanese are fanatical model builders. But I'm sitting here going, okay. Again, just trying to think from a kit model company perspective. Maybe they built the one and it didn't sell because the Japanese were like, "What's Indycar?" Or maybe they got the rights to. Well, I don't think the rights issue ever stopped them. It's just odd that they would make just one kit and out of the whole series, and that would be it. What? I heard the Ken snicker. What?
No, that wasn't me. That was the Steve snicker.
Oh, that was a Steve snicker. Okay. God, when I can't tell Ken's maniacal laugh from Steve's maniacal laugh, I'm losing my grip.
Yeah. It's like Dr. Evil.
Cats and dogs living together. God, you're of our generation when you can throw out a one-liner like that and you don't have to explain it to anybody. Ghostbusters was a classic.
Okay, well, says the box is number 3. Are you sure it's the only one?
No, I'm not. This is what I could find on ScaleMates. So, that's one of the problems when you look for Indy cars on ScaleMates. A lot of people don't list them as Indy cars. They put Indianapolis or 500. You start scrolling. Like I could be missing it. Put race cars. And since I don't know that much about cars, I may have looked right past one that didn't say IndyCar on it and thought it was Formula One or something. So, but anyway, I just found it was interesting that LS only did the one. Now, I tell you, the companies that did have a good selection of Indy cars, and I mean, they're going all the way back to the old stuff, all the way up to the modern stuff, are a couple of these like Formula models and MA scale models. They actually have a pretty nice catalog. I went through some of their stuff. Like they make a lot of this stuff, and I have no idea. I assume they're specialty houses, and I'm assuming these are boutique model companies. So I'm doubting they're running more than, I don't know, a couple of thousand. I don't know.
They're white metal kits.
Oh. I built a white metal model when Monogram, I think it was doing that multimedia stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I made one that had the metal body, hood, and trunk, and then everything else is styrene. And tell me if I'm wrong here. You have to paint it with enamel.
No.
No? Okay.
No. If you prep the body good and you prime it, you can paint it with just about anything.
Okay. Because I was afraid if I used acrylics, it was just going to flake off. I imagine lacquer would work pretty well. Okay, that was Ken. What? Oh, Snickerdoodles.
Yeah, that was me. I'm just laughing at the Snickers bars comments.
Oh, Snickerdoodles.
Yes, quite a few of them.
Listen, whoever it was that sent me those Tim Tams, we ran out. Man, Monica and I had those things with our coffee, and then when we ran out, she's looking at me like, Tom Tom. And I'm like, Tom 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 Tom. And I'm like, we're out of Tim Tams. You know? But,
you're going to have to come to Delaware. Dover's getting the Timmies.
well, Timmy's we have here. I actually just had some Timmy's decaf this morning. And, of course, Garfield sends me the real stuff with every... what are you laughing at now?
Stuart Gregory says, "Can you imagine stuffing Max into an Indycar? My mind was still screaming when I made that image go away."
You'd easier just to screw wheels to my butt and put an engine in my lap. It's funny you should mention that, cause my wife, I told her we were going to talk about Indy cars today, and she says, and I told you maybe we should watch Grand Prix or something. You know, I know it's not Indy, but, and she said, how big are those cars? Are those the ones? She goes, are those the ones that like a cigar? And I went, yes. And
not big enough.
And she, how big are they? I said, more. They're the size of a surfboard. You know, I couldn't get in one. I would. It would be easier for me to get into size 10 pants than it would to get in one of those things.
They could probably get you in it. Getting out of it wouldn't be the problem.
Well, that's what can openers are for. Oh God, me in one of those. So these are white metal kits, huh? Because they really look good. And,
white metal kits. When I worked at Matchbox, the guy who was the head of R&D, he was a Lotus fanatic, and he had 2 Lotuses, and he built white metal kits, and they were absolutely spectacular. And he got me started on white metal kits because they made very different subjects, because it was usually low runs. So they could, make a kit that was not a mainstream, car. And they come out great. That picture I sent you for the viewers build of that little Porsche, that was a white metal kit.
Gavin Swan sent me a picture. It says, I heard you don't like asymmetry. And he's sent some pictures of, oh my God. What on God's green earth am I looking at? There's some NASCARs that, let's just say the left side is not shaped like the right side. That's just wrong.
Yeah, well, that was a common thing back then.
Okay.
Sarah Jane says, trouble with old cars is you're basically sitting in the fuel tank.
Yes,
in
you
the
are.
Indy cars and the Formula One cars, absolutely. You were sitting between the fuel tank. It was on both sides of you. That's why when they would have accidents in the 60s and like early 70s, it would always be a huge fire, and 90% of the time the guy would die.
Well, let's be honest. That is what the people really came to see. I mean, just saying it like it is,
Big fireballs.
Yeah.
Now they have what do they call those?
Fuel cell.
Fuel cell. Yeah. Now they have fuel cell tanks, and they wear
Fuel
fire
cells
suits.
And the fuel cells are behind the driver.
Well, it's like Martin Marsh. There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
Yeah.
Now, switching gears a little bit here getting back to IndyCar. Well, I noticed that AMT put out a series of Eagles, 73, 74, and 75 winners. The Patrick Eagle, Bobby Unser, and the Gurney Jorgensen Eagle. And the picture I found of the Gurney Eagle that was built is in a different paint scheme, so I don't know if it's from a different year or if they just repaint them in the same year. But the cars look, the first one, the Patrick Eagle, looks substantially different. But the other two, wait a minute. I'm sorry. That's Unser's Eagle on the bottom.
Yeah.
Learn to read, Max. So anyway, these were like AMT ran a series of these 3 kits. Not a lot before, and not a lot after. I mean, they did run some, but these were like in a sequence. So, any idea what why they didn't keep that going?
Because either they lost the license or it wasn't selling that good.
Okay.
because there was a gap in between. In about 74, they stopped, and then they came back in 79. So
I love what Nitro Man answer. I remember when the drivers were big and the tires were skinny.
well, yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Ryan Tate says Max understands the fans wants.
Oh heck yeah! What did you ever see the movie? You guys all seen the movie The Great Waldo Pepper, right?
Yeah.
And when he goes to the guy to try and join his flying circus, he goes, "I'm a great pilot." He goes, "Seriously, Pepper, you think people out here want to see a good pilot? Those vultures want blood."
Well, if you remember in Grand Prix when, the Italian driver dies at Monza, and his girlfriend, holds up her hands with his blood, and she goes, "This is what you want. This is what you all come for."
You better believe it. Hey, why do you think the Romans love the gladiatorial games, baby? Well, the last of the Indycar slides I have are the two cars for Dan Gurney. And it's probably not the only two kits. These were just ones that popped up. One's an AMT and one's an MPC. So clearly he didn't have a favorite kit model maker. And did you made these, didn't you, Steve?
Yeah, I did.
And so what are the gotchas on building these kits?
Again, the Lotus, the white one. It was the exhaust system, and the Olsenite Eagle was much easier to build. The MPC one.
Okay.
Because as you can see, it's just a set of headers in the back. You didn't have that intricate exhaust system, but they were both great kits. They really were.
Well,
now, what year did they stop making the cigar looking things, and more like the flat things?
More like the flat things. You mean like the picture you showed before with the white car?
Yeah.
That was like in the 70s. The cigar-looking ones were like in the 60s.
Yeah, I guess they started really paying attention to the aerodynamics. In fact, let me put them up here side by side for comparison. Okay, here we have some Indy cars that are and here we have the Eagles.
Yeah, like those with the fuel tanks on the sides.
Yeah.
Those are the 70s. The other ones that was from the slide before, they're like the 60s.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Because the era was better with the 70s body styles.
Yeah, I'm sure the airflow was way increased with the more aerodynamic. I'm kind of surprised they weren't into aerodynamics before that. It's not like they didn't understand the concept.
They could never, with the materials that were available at the time and the designers, they wanted to make the cars in the 60s. It was to have the car as small a frontal area and as small a car as you could, so it would go through the air easier.
Mm-hmm.
In the 70s, it was, let's get the air to work to make the car stick to the track better because the speeds are higher.
By the way, I notice they all have intakes up front, but the drivers between the engine and the intake. So what are these intakes, these scoops up front in the grill?
That's the radiators.
Okay, all right. So the radiator was up front, even though, obviously, okay, duh.
The radiators are usually in the side pods.
Okay.
On each side, and then what happens is the air comes in and it gets, directed to the radiators.
Man, how quick do these buggers overheat if you're not moving fast?
And they're really not moving not fast that often, so.
Well, I mean,
really couldn't say.
Yeah. Well, I was just wondering about that because Indy cars. I like everybody here. I grew up, the Indy 500. I mean, you just the name itself invokes all these images. I'd say Indy 500 Grand Prix. Those
Nitro Mancer. Yeah, he said the rules did not allow wings separate from the body. The rules were changed in '72.
Oh. Well, there you go.
And Sarah Jane says Chaparral was the first to introduce ground effect as well.
Yeah.
That wasn't in IndyCar. That was in sports car.
Okay, if you say so.
Okay, I got a request to turn the sound up a little bit here from Greg.
Celebrating
Can you turn the voice up a little?
Cars didn't go fast enough for aero to work until the late 60s.
I disagree with that. Because at the same time you had Formula One cars, in the 70s. Well, in the late 60s, and they started putting wings on the car.
Okay, well, then you start getting back also the rules. I mean, hell, it's hard enough to keep straight the organizations they were part of. When I did my homework for this, they were like, oh, they used to be in the same one, but then Formula One did this, and Indy did that, and then they created CART, and then they created this organization, and they went bankrupt, and they merged with them, and then they started up. And I'm like, good God, it's like trying to keep airline mergers straight. And what I didn't realize was that a lot of these various racing organizations were privately owned by like individuals. Some were associations, and some were actually owned by individuals. And I'm like, okay, so it's like, and it kind of never made the connection. It's kind of like football or baseball. You have teams and leagues and that other stuff.
That's what hurt the popularity of the sport.
They mentioned that.
Because you kept breaking off into these factions, and certain drivers would pick a side. And so you had guys who like these drivers, that they would go to that series, and the guys who like that, and it was a disaster.
Yeah.
Which eventually they were forced to merge. I mean, at one point, when they first broke away from CART, they wouldn't let the CART drivers drive at Indianapolis.
Yeah. And also you were saying that they would deliberately try to put the races on the same days, which split the audience.
Yes.
They said even at the Indy 500 one year that a third of the seats were empty.
Yep. Which
was just unheard of.
Yep.
But he says now they're pulling down over 300,000 minimum, and it's God, the money, I don't think anybody's really racing for the purse, because the purse doesn't cover your operating expenses. They talk about they make $1 million for it. And I'm like, please, how much you think an Indy 500 team costs to operate?
Oh, probably
what,
$30 million.
I was going to say between 25 and 50
million.
mil, yeah. And Chaparral was Can-Am. Okay, yet another one to keep straight. Stephen Queen drove in Le Mans
for the sponsorship.
Well, the sponsorship is what pays for most of the racing.
Yeah.
By the way, I have a question for you. Speaking of racing, and my wife asked me and I couldn't answer it. The 24 hours at Le Mans.
Yeah.
What, I guess for lack of a better way to put it, what league or category does that fall in? It's obviously not NASCAR or IndyCar or Formula One.
No, it's sports car, Group C sports car.
What sports car?
Group C.
Group C sports car. Okay, that's the one where they all start and they run to their cars. I always thought that was a nice touch. So what's Can-Am?
Can-Am was a series that they invented, and it was called the Canadian American Challenge. And they raced at tracks specifically in Canada and the United States. And it was sports car racing, but prototype sports car. That's where the Chaparral became very popular.
Okay.
Until the McLarens came along, and they dominated the series. I mean, it was not even close. And then Porsche got involved, and then they wiped the floor with everybody, and that basically killed the series.
Ah, okay. It gets back to you're talking about being one type of car being too dominant for the fans.
Yep.
So, but Can-Am was more of a research operated.
No. They had a lot of, I'll give, like, for an example, the Chaparral had an automatic transmission. It's one of the only race cars that had an automatic transmission, especially at that level. but it was part of research done by General Motors, and he was funded by General Motors.
Right.
Now, he made more money from selling the model kits and the slot cars
Mm-hmm.
than he did from anything else affiliated with cars and racing.
I love that. Sarah Jane's saying that Le Mans has LMP, Le Mans prototype now, not Group C.
They're different classes
Yeah.
in Le Mans.
The Grand Prix is straight up Formula One.
Yep.
Okay. And I know there are a lot of races, and that for a while there, they're building new NASCAR tracks all over the U.S. And
they tore most of them down.
Okay.
I mean, all the tracks in California, they tore them down.
Well, you're not allowed to have fun anymore in California. It just,
it was just that, they used to have Riverside. Now there's a shopping mall there. Then they had Orange County. That's gone. And then they had the other one. I forget the name of it. That's gone.
They're doing the same thing to race.
Major speedways.
They're doing the same thing to the speedways they do to the airports. They're more valuable with condos on them than with asphalt.
Well, that's one of the problems with drag racing.
Yeah.
Is that, they built these drag racing tracks which were sort of out in the hinterlands, and then as the sprawl continued, they started to build houses right next to it.
Slurped them up.
And then everybody complained because of the noise, even though they didn't race every day. And then the land was just too valuable to have a racetrack on it for what they made. So they sold it. I mean, a perfect example of that is Bridgehampton, which is out in Bridgehampton, Long Island, which was built like in 1957, which was part of the Can-Am. Beautiful, wonderful track. They used to call it the Nuremberg of America. And they had Can-Am races, and they did really well. Well, then they started building $3 and $5 and $10 million houses around the track, and everybody was like up in arms. And then they wound up, not being able to race because the town wouldn't give them permits because of noise and all this other stuff. And then some guy built the track and decided he was going to make it a golf course. So he tore up half the track until somebody said, "Wait a minute. This is on the National Register of Historic Landmarks. You have to stop."
Oops.
Which they did, but they tore half the track up.
Great.
I mean, when I lived out there, I used to go there with my car and drive on the track.
Them days are gone. Beautiful. Hey, they did something like that to an airport I was at. The farmer didn't want to release the land. He cut the runway in half. Eric says, celebrating vintage model kits. Max, you missed the best hobby kits Indycars. Is that a brand or best hobby kits?
Wait a minute, I'm trying to find where he is.
Hey, scroll up a little bit. You missed the best hobby kits.
Well, he said that again, but he mentioned what it was. It was a lot further back.
Oh.
Well, if he's listening, he'll tell you.
Yeah, put it in. I can't keep up with the thread. Anyway, that's happened to so many places. And what's sad is they put them out in the middle of nowhere. They put them out in the middle of nowhere specifically so they could make all the racket they wanted to. But mold sold to Aurora. Who's are we talking about? They build the California Speedway 97. Then they build the California Speedway in 97. Okay. They were made in 54s. Well, okay. I'm not sure which brand he's talking about, but it'll come up.
You said Best was the brand?
Oh, Best Models.
Best. Yeah, Best was a company.
Oh, yeah, duh. Wake up, Max. Mr. Kit Model History here,
Indy cars and rifle kits. Okay.
There's
a lot of commonality there.
Okay, hold on. Give me a second look here. All right. There we go.
There was a racetrack in PG County, in the DC area, outside the Beltway.
Oop, here they are.
As you said, the neighborhood moved out past it, and they sold the land, and a private college built a bunch of buildings, left part of the track, but turned it into a lot of it into a parking lot and building.
Yeah, Best was making models in 1954. They were doing the old front engine ones here. I found them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Didn't even think about them. Well, I don't know why they didn't show up when I was doing my work. Okay. Well, I tell you, let me go back to Command Central here and turn this off and turn the camera on. And, oops, hold on. Let me turn the light on first so you guys can luxuriate with my beautiful face. There we go. We had, this was...
The quality of this just went downhill.
Yeah. But I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. So Aurora didn't even cut those molds. They made the Best kits. Okay, well, that explains that. One of because not what now.
What was that? Huh? Was that a scary Max?
Yeah. Trust me. Anytime you flip the light on them, they're like people. Children scream and people wince. And what does Carrie always said in The Princess Bride? Oh my God, what is that thing? So to get ready for this live stream, I actually had to spend the whole day doing some real homework, so I'd have some clue what I was talking about. I knew Steve would be ready to go. What?
Okay, I'm going to modify this slightly. Alfred says, Max,
the face for radio.
Max's face is perfect for radio.
Yeah. But the more I got into this, the more confusing it got, which is often not the case. But I mean, it's often the case when you get into something new. But I got to admit, overall, I was a little. I guess the word would be disappointed because I expected there to be more kits of Indycars, just given how big it is. Because there's a gazillion NASCARs, and if what I researched today is true, then there's not. NASCAR is only about half the size of IndyCar as far as like revenue, and I don't know if that's true.
If you look at NASCAR before, there weren't that many cars, and a lot of guys had the same card, so you could get a lot of kits out of the same mold.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of times you look at NASCAR, it's the same car over and over again in different markings, so that's fair.
Right, and so all you did was do a decal sheet.
Max, you're scary on an 85-inch TV. Wait till I start destroying buildings. Well, that kind of segues into the next thing I was going to talk about. I didn't have a chance to upload it, but I'll just grab it now. I want to show you guys something. Okay. Loop. Browse.
Careless says, Max in an IndyCar. Who needs downforce?
So, earlier today,
as much as the car.
Earlier today, I saw a video on how to make an AI, this new Google AI, and I went to my Google account and I typed in King Kong builds a model airplane, make me an 8-second loop, and this came up. This is what it gave me in about a minute and a half, and we've been talking about 3D printing a lot lately, and I think we're going to have to start talking about AI as well. This is pretty impressive for something that's free. You only get to make like 3 of them a day, because obviously everybody and their brother's making this stuff. But and
so show the whole thing.
That is, it's an 8-second loop or 5-second loop.
Oh.
I mean, this is the free stuff they let you do 3 times a day for nothing. And you guys may have already seen some of the stuff that's going up on YouTube. People are talking about how AI is past the uncanny valley. And I was like, the whole idea was, that's why if you saw the loop at the beginning, or if you saw my, you can go back and watch it. I'm going to leave it up for a while. I made a live stream reminder. I used this and the other ones as a faux news broadcast. And the whole idea is King Kong and Godzilla have to fix the mess they made. So you start putting the airplane back together. And I did another one. Let's see. Let's see. Browse. Where, you know, they put Godzilla to work doing the same thing, and it's they're talking about in a few years they may not even have actors. Some of the stuff they're putting out that that are amateurs are doing, they're voicing and everything. It's like this redefines animation. And mind you, this is a free thing. And I know somehow this will make its way in because people will be able to go out. Because you not only do videos, you can also do still pictures. And I'm just waiting for people to go, draw me a diagram, a 3D diagram of a P-51 Mustang. It pops up, you feed that straight into your 3D printer, and it cranks you out a model.
You just spoke this into the computer, and this is what came out?
This is what came out. Dude, I put one line of text. I said, this other one that you'll see coming up in a second, I said, Godzilla helps a submarine ashore. And
That would be good.
Well, I don't see it's for what it is. For something that took me 30 seconds to write and 2 minutes to generate, yes. I'm like, this is. To be honest,
a hole in a submarine and it's going backwards.
Why do you think he had to bring it up and recover it? Because he probably put the hole in it to begin with. But this stuff is just uncanny. Thus the phrase, the uncanny valley. And don't laugh, Ken. It ain't long before they teach these things to code.
Yeah, right. You know that phrase, don't give me what I asked for, give me what I want?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah Connor is not amused.
Oh, wait, here we go. Here's Godzilla, and here's the thumb. Godzilla looks like he's trying to mount it to ride it.
That's not what I told him to do. Bad Godzilla. Bad. But
don't pick on Max. I love him.
It's just one of these things that imagine.
I've been using AI a lot lately to help me with coding. You'd be surprised how often it's wrong.
That's true.
Flat out wrong.
I actually did.
Then you go back and say, "Hey, that's not right," and he goes, "Oh yes, you're absolutely right." You know, but
I did two others that I forgot to download. I was so giddy playing with this thing. One of them I put down because this is supposed to be like their rehab, you know, their community services. I say King Kong and Godzilla do community service news report, and it shows this anchor person talking over King Kong painting a picture and Godzilla like sweeping up the floor. And I was like, you have got to be kidding. And guys,
Sluggo isn't seeing this.
If you have a Google account, just go out to Google, put in Google AI. You go to, I think it's VO2. You click on generate video, type in what you want it to do, and give it a second. But don't forget to download it when you're done. I had a couple others that I didn't, you know. But AI equals artificial idiocy. It does. But you can't deny that. What worries me is this is just something I stuck together super quick. What worries me is some of the stuff I've already seen. They said they did like a car show, right? And the cars, the people, the voices, all completely AI. If you didn't look close, you'd never know it. You would swear they were just regular people being interviewed at a car show. And they did some other stuff as well. I'm like, good God Almighty. But it's also, don't forget, we're we're in the infancy of AI. It's going to only get better. And what scares me is how fast it's getting better. But anyway.
Bill Campbell says, but then Ken, it learns that it made a mistake and revises it. No, it doesn't. Not unless you tell it. And then it doesn't always do that, because I told it made a mistake.
Huh.
And I said, this is the correct answer. This is how I got it to work. And it goes, well, that's not what we saw. And there are a few people that have said that you were correct, but basically it's just saying, hey, yeah, I'm not going to change my mind.
No, what I'm waiting for is when you tell the AI, no, you're wrong, you made a mistake, and the AI starts arguing with you. No, I didn't. You're wrong. I'm not wrong. You're wrong.
Oh, that's not far off.
I just emptied your bank account. I'm never wrong.
I think my Max's Models lamp back here, batteries just died. I'm going to have to take that off the wall and put new batteries in it. It was glowing earlier. Good God, I accidentally moved something and snagged the power cable and knocked my little astronaut on the floor, but I checked it. He's still working. So, oh, there it goes. It's starting to glow again. Yeah, it's time for new batteries for my Max's Models sign. It's getting very weak.
Skynet is next. Skynet is not far off as you might think.
Well, as a former policeman, you know, one of my Hal was never wrong, but Hal was made psychotic because they lied to him, and Hal was never trained to handle a lie. AI, on the other hand, has learned to lie all by itself.
Oh yeah, it just makes stuff up. If it can't give you the right answer, it just makes stuff up.
I'm sorry, Dave. I can't open the pod bay doors.
You know what I did to get it to give me better answers? I just said, verify your answer first that it is correct. Now it takes about 2 minutes to answer me. I get a lot better answers.
Good God.
Yeah, wait till it figures out how to build that interocitor and then shocks you get.
Oh, what?
An interocitor.
Is that the thing that they had to build on
this island Earth?
this island Earth? Yeah. You constructed the interocitor. That was a test. You know what movie stole the idea of a thing like that being sent to Earth as a test, right? The Last Starfighter. Alex, that game was a test.
Oh yeah, the game. Yeah, to find somebody who could fly the thing.
You're one of the greatest star pilots in the galaxy. And I lived in a monogram in Morton Grove. My sister's, yeah. I actually went to Morton Grove years ago. A couple of my nephews went to Northwestern. And I went to see them. We're driving along. Hey, we're in Morton Grove. And the first thing that popped in my head, this is where Monogram Models is. I'm like, was 30 years ago, dude. Yeah. But we don't get political here. I'm not getting political. This is just an observation. Years ago, I think in the 80s, 70s or 80s, Morton Grove was the first community in America to pass a city ordinance. They called it a law, but it was a city ordinance that you could not, even in your home, have a handgun. And I was like, what? You know, and then hey, wait,
we don't want to live there.
And then I'm like, wait a minute, isn't that where Monogram Models is at? And I found myself in a conundrum. I love this place, but I must hate this place. Oh my gosh, what do I do? And then they said, Monogram Models left Morton Grove a long time ago. I'm like, oh, okay, I can hate the place then. It did not survive a Supreme Court challenge. But anyway, Mr. Anderson. You hear that, Mr. Anderson? That is the sound of inevitability. Dear God, Hugo Weaving can really get into a character.
Nathan Bod says, oh yeah, AI is going to make politics really fun in the future.
Well, all I remember, Ken, is if you guys have seen Andor, when he gets grabbed by the stormtrooper at the beach and he goes before the magistrate, and there's not like a trial. She's just like, he goes, I didn't do anything. Guilty 6 years. I was like, good God, this is like New York, New York General District Court or New York Traffic Court or that traffic court you got stuck in Georgia. Ken, they weren't interested in your stories or anything else. They wanted their fine money. End of discussion.
Well, there was also a law that you couldn't flee a crime scene, whether you were in the crime or not.
Really?
Yep, that's what they got him on.
Huh. Got who on?
Ander.
Oh. That was, yeah.
And it was a crime in process, and he was trying to get away, and they caught him, and that's what they got him for.
Oh, okay. So he was guilty. But, Andor, as I call it, Star Wars for grown-ups. So the, oh, thank you, Barbara. I'm great. You are great. We are great. God.
Ooh, here's a good question to ask AI. Is the Matrix real?
Yes, even if it's not, it's still real.
It'll say, yes, it is, Neo.
No, I can tell you why the Matrix is real. All right? Simple. It exists because we think about it. If you think about something, it exists. It may not exist in material physical form, but it does exist.
Well,
You understand what I'm saying?
But
Am I getting a little too out there? How do we know Max is an AI?
Yeah, if that were true, I would have been with every girl in high school.
that's right. Thank you, Mr. Sterling.
I can prove I'm not an AI. AIs may lie. AIs may cheat. AIs may be stupid. But AIs do not muck up model airplanes like I do. Aha.
Nathan says he's pretty sure Max is a legit human. I don't think AI would create anything quite like that.
They couldn't if they tried. And AI cannot put a thumbprint in a perfect paint job on an airplane as if I ever put a perfect paint job on an airplane.
I don't know. What's the name of it?
Max is an Aristotelian, not a Platonist. Hey, I don't have to take that crap off anybody. I don't even know what it means, but it sounds like an insult. It smells like teen angst.
Well, that big gorilla looked like it was.
Man, if I'd known this was going to be this much fun, I would have brought the whiskey
doing
up.
a real good job on that airplane.
I tell you, that airplane was a nightmare. I mean, it was, at one point, for just a fleeting moment, just that moment that Luke Skywalker thought about whacking off Ben Solo's head, that fleeting second, I seriously thought the wall is right there. I can simulate terminal velocity right into it. But now I'm glad I stuck with it.
Stuart Gregory says, I must not be AI.
Oh my gosh. You realize that AI creates a new conundrum. What does they say? How do you know exist? I think, therefore I am. Well, if AI thinks, then therefore it is. Or is it?
Is it alive? What passes the Turing test?
Is it real? Okay. Steve, you better know where this is from. Is it real or is it Memorex?
He just said that.
I just said that.
Oh, okay. I was talking so much I couldn't hear you. You know I can't hear you over the sound of my own voice.
God. Okay. He loves the sound of his own voice, doesn't he?
Ken, everybody loves it. Everybody loves the sound of my buttery smooth voice.
AI doesn't think. I don't. Maybe. It's hard.
Thanks, Eric.
But it does pass the Turing test, if anybody knows what that is.
Yes, and it gave shooting right past the Canny Valley. And it's funny, when somebody said pass the Turing test, I was like, dude, I could barely get through algebra. And I don't know type test.
Answers questions.
One, I swear to God, if I ever get a chance to make my indie film, at some point we're going to throw in a bunch of these old one-liners from old TV commercials, like when the monster comes alive, somebody's going, "It's alive," and somebody's going, "Or is it Memorex?" But
it just scrubs the web for answers that already exist, mostly.
To an extent. Hey, all right, we're back to cars, Grand Touring. If it passed the Turing test, it's a Grand Touring observation at GTO.
Nobody knows what the Turing test is. Oh, well.
The Turing test is something they did. If you have an AI,
Bring that up, right, Ken?
if you pick
What's
up the
that?
phone now,
Nothing.
okay, Steve's blaming you for
Go
this
ahead, Max.
tangent. The Turing test basically, it only had to be audio at first. Now, what it was, if you picked up the phone and talked to an artificial intelligence or a computer, and it did such a good job, not only in voice modulation, but in answering your questions, that you never realized you were talking to a machine. You thought you were talking to a person. That was a Turing test, right?
You're close. It was just text. It never involved audio.
Oh, okay. So it would spit back answers that made you think you were talking to a person. Now, the uncanny valley is when something looks sufficiently lifelike that you think it's real. Now we have AI that is starting to marry those two up. And yeah, Blade Runner for sure. You ate it, Ralph. Oh, wait, what was that from? You ate it, Ralph. Come on, what was that from? I know that.
Alka-Seltzer.
I can't believe I ate the whole thing. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz. Oh, Sarah Jane lives next to Bletchley Park. Well, okay. That's where it all began. I am not a replicant. I use deodorant.
Nobody would ever make Max a replicant.
Why? First off, there's not enough general material laying around to build a Max. So, oh my God! I just saw the perfect one-liner. If we were gonna build a replicant, we could do better than that.
Turing is what we do when Max goes on a tangent.
hit. Room. That was Matt
Max
Frewer.
Headroom was actually a personality that had been sucked into a computer.
Yeah, the actor who played him is named Matt Frewer, and you've seen him in 100 things. He's been in everything.
Mm-hmm.
From Honey, I Shrunk the Kids to, oh God, he just pops up on all kinds of stuff. He had his own TV show for a short time where he played a doctor. It was a cute show, but it didn't last. Oh, another thing that I did want to bring up was the kit model of the Boogaloo's Dune Buggy, which I think was a Barris car. For those who remember 71, 72, I think, there was a morning kid show called the Boogaloos. Now, even though I was only like 10, 12 years old when it came on, I think it was made in the UK, actually. But somehow, this is the weird part. All the actors, including the girl and three boys, Paul in New Zealand asked about this. Apparently, they were all English, so I assume it was made in England, but it was a Barris car. So why would you... The UK's got plenty of car designers. Why would they get Barris to make one? But maybe they shot it in LA. Maybe they just happened to be English. I don't know. But anyway, in the 1970 monogram or 71 monogram catalog, they showed the Boogaloo's Dune Buggy in the catalog. But to my knowledge, it was never made. And I'm not sure, but I think there was also, wasn't there a Barbie Corvette that they put in the magazine, in a catalog, but they didn't build
Barbie
it.
Corvette.
But they never built it.
That was when Monogram was owned by Mattel.
And I think those were both 1970. It might have been the same year. The Voight-Kampff test. Should I know that?
What the heck is that? I don't know that one.
I think I may be confusing it with something else like Dunning-Kruger syndrome, which I live in the Dunning-Kruger Valley. You know, where you think you're smarter than you are.
Paul Adams Boogaloo's was a Sid and Marty Krofft show.
Okay, so all the actors just happen to be English. Well, let me rephrase that. They were born in England. I just, when I looked at it, I saw the cast and I clicked on it and it says, I think I only checked out two of them, but they were both in the UK, which makes me suspect maybe it was a British production. But, okay, so it was made in California then. And,
oh, that's right. The Voight-Kampff test was in Blade Runner.
Oh, that's where they tell if you're a replicant.
Test
Okay.
the replicants to see if they were replicants or not.
Yeah. I used to drop acid and watch the HR Puffin stuff, which, yes, we all know Puffin stuff was a deliberate reference to marijuana because Sid and Marty Krofft, well, one of them was a big-time stoner. And, oh, God, that was so cool. I love it. HR Puffin stuff. Can't get a little if you can't get enough. Amazing the things that stick. But well, I can tell you right now, I'd fail the Voight Kampf test because I never studied. Do glue troopers dream of electric styrene? Okay, that was good. Okay, Tom gets a star.
Martha Ray was the evil witch in the
Yep,
Blue
that's
Balloons?
right. She was. It was Martha Ray. Yeah, yeah. Oh, by the way,
Hold on, something.
oh, Lidsville,
Nathan
yeah.
Bond did something. Nathan Bond just said something very prophetic. Well, if nobody has jobs, then what's the point of life?
Okay,
To build models. Exactly.
Eric, if I had any empathy towards plastic, I would get out of this hobby. But I will murder, scrape it, and I will sand it without anesthetic. We're not coming with this stuff. Oh God, I'm a comic genius. You know what? That could be a T-shirt. Somebody with sandpaper and holding a model. It just says no anesthetic, and fill in another word below that. I'm not going to say it, but you know. So you don't want to fit? Well, I'm doing this without anesthetic. That was okay. Okay. Quit patting yourself on the back, Max.
You could be putting the Gundam together.
And her sidekick was a rat in an SS uniform. Oh, dear God, I think I remember that now. Oh, Jesus.
Sand it like you stole it.
Man, was there anybody making kids' TV in the 70s who wasn't on acid? Yeah, I remember what else you got to do for the other 20. That's from Greece, I think, wasn't it? I do remember that phrase. It was a 50s. I think it was in Greece. But okay, you guys keep this up. We're going to do one of those episodes where we do nothing but throw out one-liners. Everybody's going to type what movie it was. And no softballs like, you know, this was no boating accident. That's, you know, or you killing me, Smalls.
Well, they have Nuremberg trials for crimes against styrene.
My question is, if they do, will they be held at the old Nuremberg track? But
maybe your jet playing with some Giants model kit.
Well, that's like that's that Larson cartoon where he's at the Airbus factory cutting the airplanes out of styrene. He finally found his dream job as a model builder. You know, Flegel, Bingo,
You're
Gruber.
like James May building the Airbus factory.
Yeah, Flegel, Bingo, Grouper, and Snorkel. Ha ha! Oh my God! Talk about useless knowledge. And there's that stuff we all.
That's tantamount to being put in a home for knowing that. Okay?
Yeah. Well, it's not exactly a crime yet. And I know we always talk about this. You're gonna need a bigger TARDIS. There you go. I got a bigger TARDIS. But Steve and I brought this.
For the win.
We've all brought this up numerous times, but it really hurts when you make a reference and somebody. It's bad enough when somebody under 20 doesn't get it, but you're like, okay. But when it's somebody under 40 and they don't get it, you're like, good God, how old am I?
Francis Flecko says, gee, thanks for now putting me in a moral dilemma since I primarily build solid wood kits. Some poor oak gave their life for the pleasure of my X-Acto knife and sanding block.
And you remember that, you tree-murdering humanoid. Boy, you think because you walk upright and have opposable thumbs, you're just entitled yourself to any living creature that's below you. Tree fall, I must build models. Ha 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 ha. Thanks, Garfield. Now I've got the freaking...
Anytime you write on a piece of paper, you're killing a tree.
It's already dead, Ken. That's how it works.
Both ways. I have a friend.
Well, Garfield just gave everybody an earworm, and Mike's right behind him. You guys are evil.
Alfred says, tangent run wild tonight.
Why do I even bother trying to talk?
I don't know why.
I have a friend of mine who has a kid who works for him who's like 19, and my friend made a John Wayne reference, and the kid
try it and get it.
He was aghast. He says, The kid didn't know who John Wayne was. I said he died in '79. The kid wasn't born until 20 years after that.
Super PZL asks who had a crush on Carolyn Ellis from the Boogaloos, and I imagine every boy who saw it. But the Ellis I had the crush on was from UFO, Lieutenant Gay Ellis.
There you go.
I mean, I'm sorry, that silver suit just did it.
Let's not put Electra Woman and Dinah Girl out of the picture.
Oh, you had to go there.
Oh,
Electra Woman and Dinah. And
Are you the shark, Max?
Did I hear a gunshot outside? I heard something go bang or pop outside. Well, I'm ready if they get close. You know me, I'm never more than 2 arms lengths away from a boomer shooter, from a boomstick. So we can't talk about that or we might get cut off. So does that mean Max is the shark? Oh my God. Well, if you're a donut, I'm the shark. Now there's a T-shirt. If you're the donut, I'm the shark. Of course, them appeal. Any Bond girl, any Hammer girl. I love the torture guys who like movies in the '60s. Go, what do you think's better, Bond girls or Hammer girls? And man, you just watch the fur fly after that. You know.
That's a tough one.
Armed Claymore, yeah. It's Platoon.
Turn on the electric fence, Max.
Oh my God, the skydiver uniforms with the fishnet T-shirts. I never got that, but I was like, okay. Jacksonville. It'd be weird if there weren't any. It'd be weird if there weren't gunshots. Well, that's over on the west side, you know. An English acquaintance of me at one time asked, what is it with you? Oh, it's fireworks. I just sort of go whoosh pop. This is like,
this is good. Stuart Gregory just said, try telling a Gen Zer, here's a quarter, call someone who gives a damn. A quarter?
Seriously, Eric, Daphne or Velma, that's a question. And
a quarter?
Now, the question is Ginger or Marianne or Samantha or Jeannie. But Velma and Daphne, that's a no-brainer. And I don't know, some guys like
Erin Gray. Yeah, I had the hots for Erin Gray. Oh man, she was so cute.
Ken, I was really happy not knowing that.
Now you know. Life is complete.
Hey, Rhoda, the living doll.
Oh, my wife and I, we were curious about. Was that the one where she's the robot, right? That gets away.
Yeah.
We got curious. That's Julie Newmar.
Yeah.
Before she got in the skin tight Catwoman suit. Yeah, she said she couldn't breathe in that suit. No, but the same actress. But we were curious, so we actually watched the pilot episode of that. But that was Bob Cummings and Julie Newmar, right?
Right.
Don't make any comments about the actor's name.
And Bob Cummings quit the show because he thought that she was getting too much of the attention.
Gosh, you think?
Yeah.
the interchangeable straight man and the dynamic beauty, of course.
Yeah. Bill Campbell agrees with me. McKen, yes, she was.
Ginger, Jeannie, Daphne, plus the drummer from Josie and the Pussycats, Paul. She was a cartoon. But she wasn't real. Just like most of the people I'm seeing. I'm telling you. It's Jeannie or her evil sister. Ooh, man, I do like brunettes. But
we've totally gone off the rails here.
Yeah,
it's like, wow, we are so far down the rabbit hole now.
Well, Garfield's right, though. Angie Dickinson and Rio Bravo, absolutely. Clanker Schultz! Dear God. You go away! Athena. I always liked Athena better than Sheba. AF708. Barry, it bothers me that you know that, but it impresses me at the same time.
Oh boy, how did we end up here?
Because I ran out of slides. We didn't pretty much finished running to talk about. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention was the 3D printing thing.
Batman or Robin.
Okay, now it's just getting weird. Yeah, Linda Carter for sure.
Now? It's just now getting weird?
Anyway, the Schulte Toy Company, that's right. Still Athena.
Bob Cummings was a bomber pilot in World War II?
Mm-hmm.
And he was
So
related to the Wright brothers.
Yeah. And people forget that Orville Wright lived to fly DC-6. I mean, just as, got to get the controls of it shortly before he passed. These guys, it wasn't as long ago as we think.
Okay. I did not know that.
Well, the nice thing about Astro is you don't have to take him out. But
yeah, just put him on the treadmill.
No, okay, let's loop this back for a minute, get back to models. I was going to say the thing about the AI is I'm pretty sure it's only a matter of time for the AI starts going directly into 3D printing, where you'll be able to print out, you'll just be able to tell it, come up with something, it'll just print it out. I guarantee they're going to start making movies with this stuff. Actors are going to start worrying about their jobs, even voice actors.
How far will replicators be away?
Well, that's still a ways out, but it's out there, I'm sure.
Think about it. You just talk to the AI and said, "Hey, make me a model of a Navajo," and it goes out and starts.
Piper PA-31 Navajo, tan in color. They'll be able to jet color in it, and they'll just. I'll say it in the AI. It'll feed it into the 3D printer. It'll probably eventually become one unit. You'll be able to make your model just by typing in what you want or even saying it. And it'll look at it, give it approval, and
this is like the movie Weird Science in the 23rd century.
I don't think it's that far down the road. Yes, we're talking about models, but you'll be able to make models. I mean, this will kill model companies, or at least be a big dent to them. And on the other hand, it'll open up the opportunity for the one kid in the neighborhood who has one of these machines to be able to make, as a cottage industry. I just watched some videos today with one of them was it Brett Weinstein he was talking about, or his brother, get those two confused. One of the supposedly great American thinkers was talking about how most of the people that are going to be replaced by AI are not skilled labor. And it'll be a long time for an AI can fix a toilet. But it'll have...
We're in, Ken.
What's that?
We're in.
A vain attempt to get back on topic. PamsCon, Lakeland, Florida, on the 21st of June. Great shows, lots of visitors. Yes, I went there. I'm hoping to make this one and hang out with Fran. I would like to make PamsCon. Might see if Ian's got some stuff he wants to put on the table, but I really just prefer going down. It's a really good one. If you guys are anywhere in the Orlando or Tampa area, PamsCon's right in the middle. Bit of a drive for me, about 3 hours and change, but it's worth it. Nice thing is, if Fran's got the table this year, so he sets it up, I don't have to be there right at opening. I can come by later. And Model Palooza, I think, is in October, and of course we just had JaxCon up here not that long ago.
Fran will put a sign up saying, "Meet Max. He'll be here at 10."
Okay, Ken and I and Steve and possibly Fran are all going to try and make the Nationals in, is it Hampton Roads?
Yes.
Don, I hope I'm saying his name correctly, Don Igels, has, he's with the IPMS up there, and he contacted me about coming up there, and we're probably just going to drive up. But I looked at the flights, but they're not that expensive, but they're the schedule, they only do one a day, and if there's any kind of weather or anything happens, I'm like, you know what? I was surprised, Ken, that you wanted to go because it's a drive for you, but if you're going to come up, we'll carpool up there, and that should be I've never been to the Nationals before, so I'm going to take my cameras and everything, and we're going to spend at least probably a full day there, and maybe on the way back see the Battleship and Kitty Hawk, or maybe do Kitty Hawk on the way up. I don't know.
Well, Steve asked real nice.
Since when? Now, that brings up an interesting... Huh?
Are we going to do the Battleship on the way back, too?
I was thinking, yeah, because it's right there, Norfolk. And,
Yeah, might as well. Road trip.
Ken, I'll be trying to attract customers, not driving them screaming into the night.
I was just trying to be helpful.
Lest we forget us hosting a 2-day event in honor of the Desert War, Gulf of Iraq, Afghanistan veterans in St. Joseph, Michigan. I'll be there wearing my DCUs from Iraq. And there's a swap meet in St. Louis at Mark Twain Hobbies.
Somebody was asking when you were going to go back to California again.
I don't know. I'm hoping to go in a couple of months. I got to hook that up with Mike.
Tom Fox has said it. We could have MaxCon.
Yeah, because that's going to be a thing. We'll hold it at Hurricane Hobbies.
I think he just won.
Why don't you come out to California when I'm going to be out there with Mike in July?
Maybe. Depending on what I got going on, that might work. California's the kind of place I'd probably try to see if I could get out there for free. I actually thought about buying a first class ticket because that's a long ride. But even on JetBlue with my discount, that's still pretty expensive. But
plus, I won't pay for his hotel room. I have to pay for it himself.
Ow! Stop it, Ken!
And the worst part is he'd have to book it himself.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I'm used to having this stuff done for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Mike and I could have a thing at the Proud Bird again or something. But
yes, Garfield, my birthday is June 7th, and I will be the big 7-0.
And I'll be there. In fact, Kim, we got your gift in the mail today.
Oh, cool. All right.
That other thing you guys ordered never showed up. So
show up.
yeah, it never. It is still out there in the universe somewhere. So, I had a thought. You know, you guys, if you saw the last video I did, it turns out that Aurora Bristol Fighter did not, one half of the fuselage is missing. It just wasn't there. So, some people said, cut it in half and do the mirror thing, but with a rigged biplane, that would get a little dicey and spicy. But
why don't you build half of it and stick it on the wall?
I was just saying, because it's a biplane that's going to be rigged, that would get, shall I say, weird in a hurry. Although that is an option. Right now, I just got it sit in the spare parts box. Thought about just doing a total kit bash, build the wings, and then just find some other fuselage to put on it. Look cool with a P-51 fuselage and biplane wings.
Ken. Garfield's birthday is the same day as yours.
Congratulations, Garfield. Well, we'll have to drink a toast to Garfield then when we have your party, Ken. Which, if it's a Ken party, it'll probably be Diet Coke.
By the way, Max isn't going to be doing that live stream on June 7th.
I'll be doing. We'll do a Friday night live stream on the 6th, not next week, but the following week. It'll be Friday night, so we thought about doing it from the party, but it's a party, but what I thought I might do, maybe, is just go ahead and build the model with just the half fuselage, and then make, this would be a lot of work though, make formers and stringers to make up the fuselage so it would look like an airplane with the skin removed on that side. And then I could paint up the interior and put the interior rigging in it.
Boy, are you a glutton for punishment.
Man, that absolutely would be total punishment. But if I pull it off and it looked halfway decent, which are two extremely large ifs to the point of damn near almost not going to happen, it would be quite the little coup. And looking at, or should I say cool? The cool coup. Cool. Okay, stop it. That's just a thought that went through my mind. I'm sure I'll chicken out on it. And one thing about... What?
Rob Lawson wants to know, anyone building a model of that North Korean destroyer?
Well, you only need half the kit.
You don't need half of the boats for that.
Okay, just heat it up, put a twist in it.
Now, the other thing I could do is use the model to make a crash scene, but that's a little dark.
And you could do a diorama of it. You could have all of the people who worked on the boat, in an internment camp.
Ow. Not unfair, just ow. God is all flying. It's not the DH-10, it's the FE2, but still that's not a half bad idea. Take the wings and tail, put something goofy on the wings. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick. I don't know. We'll see. I'm all full of bad ideas, and but one of the things is that Bristol fighter, the landing gear does not go. The wings are both the bottom wing and the top wing are completely separate from the fuselage. The fuselage is suspended above the lower wing, and the landing gear goes through it. So that means trying to build half the model, it gets kind of weird at that point.
June 7th is K-Day.
Yeah, D-Day, which means I have that Ken means I have to finish the viewers build, the D-Day viewers build, the day before your birthday, so I can get it posted before I leave. Thanks for being born on the day after D-Day, Ken. You're making my life difficult.
Call your mom.
Come on, lady. You couldn't have waited another 24 hours. Jeez. I just rebrand my model of the Moskva. All you have to do to make a model of the Moskva is wrinkle up some tinfoil, spread it out, paint it blue, and put it on a plaque. Maybe take a little white paint for the tops.
Wasn't that the latest addition to the Russian submarine fleet?
Yep. It is definitely underwater. It is das U-boat, to be sure. It's an Unterseeboot. But I'm using this as the universe talking to me, telling Max, stop cracking new boxes open. You have like 9 models sitting on a table that have all been opened or started. Finish them, then you can play with your new toys. If you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding.
No HD, what is it? ADHD for you.
The D-Day build is doing a couple on by June 5th, so that I have a day to put it together. So it's due on the 5th. If I don't have it by the 5th, it'll just go on a regular viewers build. And
I just finished 2 models that I was working on, and I looked at my workbench and I go, something's wrong. There's nothing on it. I have to start something else.
Who's the U-boat commander? That is risky business with Tom Cruise when he opens the door on the Porsche that went in the lake. That is my favorite line in that movie. Okay, who's the U-boat commander?
U-boat commander.
I remember that one. Risky business. That was really the movie that made Tom Cruise. And Rob, he's got 10 models in there. Only 9? Yeah. Wimp, I have over 30 started.
Celebrating? JM is celebrating? Okay.
So, well, what else do we got? We don't really have anything else on the agenda. Did I show all the slides I had? Was there something else? Yeah,
John actually says, what? Like this June 5th? Ah, jeez.
You better get to painting and building. No excuses will be tolerated. Do not, please don't send pictures of stuff you built a long time ago. The whole idea is to do a group build. So, I mean, you can send pictures of anything for a regular viewer's build, but every once in a while I get a photo like the model's covered in dust. You didn't build that for this build. The next one, let me look real quick, because I always get that question next. Updated build schedule. This is subject to amendment, but the next one following this will be the dream car build. Build your dream car, a model of your dream car. And for some of you, you're looking at the shelf right now going, I already got it. And
can it have propellers?
As long as it's a car, if it's an amphicar, and
When is that due?
Well, right now I have July 5th, but I can move that back. It'll give you a month after the D-Day build to build it. I mean, really, any of you guys take a month to build a model car? I mean, Christ, I watch Modeling Muse do it in one session. and what's his name with the Krylon paint can do one in an hour?
Oh, please. Oh, your HPI guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, the king of Walmart.
Well,
Celebrating vintage model kits says, can my dream car have wings?
if it's your dream car, but it better be an aero car. But I mean, come on, everybody, even people who aren't into cars have a car they've always dreamed of having. Might be an excuse for me to build that big one, that Tacoma Willis Jeep, the big scale one. That's just I watched several build videos on that. That thing has as many parts as a real Jeep. About the only thing it doesn't come with is moving pistons.
The only thing it doesn't do is start when you're finished it.
Yeah. But so that's what we have for right now. I think I'm going to add a scratch build from your junk box to the builds queue, because that a lot of people when I kind of made a joke about that, a lot of people really they like that idea, because every one of us has got boxes of parts, and it lets your imagination roam free, and there are no rules. And it can be anything you want: a spaceship, a car, a tank, a piece of weird modern art. And speaking of group builds, how about a racing build? Any kind of racing, even a 43 tank, or a 3 on a spaceship. Well, you could. That's a thought. There he goes. That Speed Racer
the Mad Max car.
The Interceptor.
The Falcon XB.
Who made that thing?
It was a British Ford.
Okay. Because I remember they have when I was in New
Not
Zealand.
A British Ford, it was an Australian Ford.
Australian, yeah. When I was in New Zealand, I met a couple of local police, and they were driving a car I didn't recognize. They said it was made by a company I think called Ambassador. I don't know if it's an Australian or New Zealand. I don't know if they actually make cars in New Zealand, but
I got two things I want to say. Okay.
Last of the 8 Interceptors, yep.
You know that really weird crop dusting airplane that was in a Mad Max movie?
Agritruck, yeah, I know the Agritruck. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Somebody made a model of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was thinking, okay, yeah, all right. Another thing was,
I think it was the SUX 6000, Carl. Yeah, he just took it down.
The other thing is, I think you might find interesting. I was on the way up to the boat the other day, I was on the way up to the boat, and I heard this strange propeller noise. It was really different, and I looked up, and it was a beach starship flying overhead.
One of the 2 left.
I thought there was 4 left.
Okay, maybe there's 4.
Well, there was 4 left a few years ago. I don't know how many are still flying, but I saw a beach starship, and I thought, I got to tell Max about that.
Yeah. Holden was the car company in Australia. Okay.
Very different sound.
That actually, I'm surprised nobody made the Mad Max car as a kit. That would be a cool model.
Somebody does.
Who?
Somebody does. I think it's one of the Japanese kit manufacturers.
Okay, before we go,
I've seen it.
Let me just check real quick before we go.
Does anybody make a model of the beach starship?
I seem to recall seeing one, but I don't know if it was one of the mainstream companies or not. Okay, Mad Max. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. Mad Max, the iconic Ford Falcon XBGT by Hatchet Part Works. So it's a specialty company. Here we've got LS made the Mad Gazelle and the Mad Sylvia. I don't know what those aren't the car.
No, those aren't it.
Here we go. Fujimi Mad Max Police Interceptor by Fujimi. And V8 Police Interceptor Monsters in Motion's going to make one. Or no, they've been making one. And a couple of companies, Cavalier, Model Productions, Planet X, Parts Box. Aoshima made one. You're right, they're all out of Japan.
Yes, Sarah Jane has one.
I might have to see. Well, you know what? Let's just hop over to eBay real quick before we go and see what those things are running these days.
Oh, somebody makes one. All right. A model. Have you ever heard of A model, Steve?
Yeah, I've heard of A model. They're out of the Czech Republic, I think. Okay, Mad Max Interceptor. Here we go. Toys and
That would
Hobbies.
be cool.
Models and kits. You have got to be kidding me. $127, $113, $110, $206. These things are all over $100.
Cheaper than a plane ticket to Japan.
Yeah, Aoshima. Most of them are the Aoshimas. Wow. Got one's $22 just for the wheels. Well, if I see one at one of the conventions or something, I may, if it's a decent price, I might have to grab it. I had no idea it would be quite that expensive. Let's see.
Execuform made a 172nd. Vacuform?
It's a vac kit? Screw that.
Yeah.
Those things, I mean, don't get me wrong. If you know what you're doing, a vac kit can look really nice, but you got to know what you're doing.
They're real tricky.
One of the things I've learned, because Ricky Wolf sent me some, and I played with them, and some of the things I learned was, once you get them all shaved down, don't try to just mate the butt ends. Glue strips to the edge, so that it's got something to glue to. Make a little
to grab onto.
Yeah, and
you got to fill in the seam.
Yeah, but you also it gives you some backing when you fill in the seam. But also, a lot of guys recommend it takes a plastic or balsa wood and making a bit of a frame for it to give it a little rigidity. So and Ricky is a master model builder. He makes these things from bloody scratch out of resin and vac and everything else. I mean, he does some pretty incredible work too.
Celebrating says someone makes a die-cast Mad Max car.
They do.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
18 scale.
And
so there's 3D print files out there for the Mad Max Interceptor.
Lance is right. Round 2 needs to do it.
Hey, Byron Tate's going to Japan. Ask him to bring some kits back.
Yes, Ken, that's what I'm going to do for somebody who's traveling across the globe with packed bags. Could you do me a favor? Do me a solid and get me some kits while you're there. The guys at Customs won't care. Well, guys, that's it for this evening. It's quitting time, and dinner awaits, and I have gotten how I get, so I must feast before I become a beast. Oh, now that's a T-shirt. I must feast or become a beast.
Oh, I just noticed Max shaved.
Yes, of course.
Well,
after somebody's scruffy Nerf herder comment the other day. I have feelings. Okay, guys, let's say our goodnights to everybody, and then we shall call it a show. Who wants to go first?
Go, Ken.
Oh, if anybody's looking for a birthday present for me, that Beach Starship kit would be really nice. Thank you all for coming to this evening. We really appreciate your comments, and y'all have a really good Memorial Day. Thank you.
And good evening to all. And unlike Ken, I do have shame, so I won't answer anything.
Yeah, Ken, it's all about you.
Thank you for tuning in tonight, and I hope you all have a lovely Memorial Day holiday, and see you next time.
Guys, great Memorial Day. Thanks for coming out and spending some time with us. I hope you had a little bit of fun. We'll talk to you next week. It'll still be Saturday night, and then Friday the week after that. Take care of yourselves, and as always, model on.